Whoa, it's Mr. L's coming at you live from the New Orleans, the Crescent City, the place that kept forgot, all that good shit. Man, today I got a special one for y'all, boy. Man, say who you up, bro. This motherfucker eating. I'm gonna go over to you.
Shit, Ellis Dozier.
What's up, Ellis?
Bo Holston, cousin of Mr. L.
Oh yeah,
They
I
gon-
forgot that part.
They're gonna be talking about some of this basketball stuff. Both former student athletes. Also got G Ride with us.
I'm in here, I'm in that bitch, I'm in here. What's up, what's up?
Got my youngin' Kizzle up in here. Say that, Kizzle.
What's up?
Yeah. So man, basically,
Wasn't never that smooth.
gonna do a little podcast. You know, talking about what it takes, you know, to become a student athlete on a D1 college level, particularly basketball. What a day in a life is like. Some advice for you, some of you cats out there that might have a chance of, you know, might have some talent, and for them to guide you in the direction where you need to go. So my man kind of eating over here, so I'm gonna start off with you, E. Yeah, E. So tell him, you know, a little bit about your basketball history, what got you playing, and all the way up to, you know, excelling high school and becoming playing for your school.
I mean, like I always grew up around basketball. Like my dad played, uncles played. It was kind of determined before I was even born that I'd be a basketball player almost. Like, yeah, so I just always grew up around it. Always was working out, either whether that's with my dad or with Bo, with Uncle Joe, Uncle Ronald, Seth, everybody, you know, like, just was kind of always in the gym, which, I mean, even though I was forced to do it sometimes, it helped out in the long run. So, like, then just continued to naturally grow that passion and get in on my own and really start taking it a lot more seriously when I saw I could go somewhere and when I wanted my dreams to line up with reality. So, like, I mean, yeah, that was really how I got to where I was, you know, like, just constantly working, constantly putting priorities first, putting, like, basketball before, putting my work before fun, kind of, you know, like, which was always important.
So before we get into like college days and stuff, like about how hard did you have to work like in high school to be recognized by like a school or that, or what do you think was more just maybe like your height, or was it your skill, or like, what do you think made recruits become interested in you like during the high school years?
Well, I feel like the fact that I started off at DeMatha was a huge bonus for me because I was able to be on the varsity roster as a freshman, and I got in front of college coaches real early at 14, so it's like I was exposed to.
God damn, I didn't know a freshman you was on that varsity team, boy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, so I split it between JV and varsity, so it was like I was on the varsity roster, but I didn't play a single minute.
Okay, I got you. So it's like more like
I
you would.
I was playing JV all my minutes, but like I was still on the varsity roster.
Like for added depth or something, right? Just in case a catastrophe happened and like they had to throw your ass in there.
Yeah, that, and like, you know, kind of like the fact that I stood out more in I was one of the standouts in JV. So like me and two other players, we were playing JV but also on the varsity roster.
Okay, so you did that. You know, you got a little taste of varsity ball while being a freshman, and also a main factor of the success for the JV team. So once you got to like varsity full time, like did you notice like the game changing a bit? Did you notice like a pickup in pace or like a higher level skill? Like what do you think?
Not really, because it was the fact that I was playing every day against such good players. It helped out a lot. Like, because looking back on it now, we have one dude who is in the NBA now, Jeremy Grant. Two dudes who were overseas. One dude in the G League, and like then there's me who's trying to get overseas now. So it's like that's like a handful of pros and potential pros, like all on one team. So it's like having to go against that every day. You kind of have a seamless transition into the actual game. So it wasn't like a culture shock or nothing when I got in.
Right. So at what point you think like you started to get noticed from schools, any school, and then when did you start getting acknowledged and noticed by like larger schools?
Like I said, my first day out there, I remember like it was actually crazy. I remember I was in 8th grade, haven't even finished 8th grade yet, but I was doing like varsity workouts with the Mathis team, and I remember like Ohio State noticed me, and that was like
The Buckeyes was looking at you for a little bit more.
yeah, it was wild. Like they noticed me first, and it was like I was like, yeah, I think I can be good at this shit, So
Okay. All right. Signing day comes around. You sign the papers. Now, what for like somebody who's in high school right now? Like, did you have to have a certain, number of credits, or you had to have a certain GPA and ACT scores to get into a school and tell them where you wind up going?
So I signed to Ohio University, Bobcats in Athens. So basically, I know I had pretty good like SAT, ACT scores, so getting in wasn't a problem for me. Like it was like, but I know there are like different schools will have different requirements, so it's like you don't like obviously strive to do well in school no matter what, because like you don't want to be on the lower half of that and just barely miss it. You'd rather like have no worries, be able to get into wherever you want to go and whoever's recruiting you.
See, bro, so many people missed that point, man. I know so many guys that could have had stellar NFL careers, but they used to F up so bad in school. They only took football seriously. I'm a football. I'm talking this basketball cats right now. I'm a football. This dude a baseball dude.
The baseball dude, what you talking about, son? I always went to class.
Anyway,
It's a sliding scale too. Meaning the higher your GPA is, the worse you could do on the ACT or SAT. So if your GPA is lower, you got to do better on those standardized tests to qualify for the NCAA. So if you got a 4.0, you can score real low on ACT, SAT, whatever the test is, and still qualify for the NCAA clearinghouse. Mm-hmm. So that's why you make it easy on yourself. Just get the good grades so you don't have to take those stupid tests, because they are very, very difficult, very time consuming, and pretty biased.
Basically, if you have a 4.0, life's easy, like you don't gotta worry about nothing.
So the point is, school does matter after all. Y'all hear that out there, so make sure when you're trying to pursue a career in sports, you got your grades together, or invest in tutors, or don't cheat, but you gotta have the grades to go to these top tier schools. Too many people have wasted talent. All right, so fast forward, you sign, you're out there, you're enrolled. So what was like college life like for you in regards to being like a student athlete? Like what about being a college athlete different from like being a student athlete in high school And was it like a culture shock, or what should some of the younger guys be aware of, like looking forward and going into that direction?
I know for me it was an easier transition to my freshman year because I'd done a postgraduate year of prep school too. So
Right. I remember that. Go ahead.
yeah, so I was like already used to being away from my parents, having to be kind of independent and self-accountable. So I was used to that part, but even still, like, there's so much like freedom you get, kind of, which is it's good, but it's also dangerous. So you have to be really accountable for yourself in college because you don't have another person saying, oh yeah, you are like, you have to do this, this, and this before you go to bed, for example. Like, usually when you're in high school and stuff, you could have your parents saying like, you got to do your homework, etc. before you go to bed. Like, in college, you have to make every decision on your own, and there's so many things. Like, I know for my school especially, like, there's so many things where I can be chilling in my room, then say somebody who doesn't have anything to do the next day can say, oh yeah, hey, let's go to the bars. And it's like, you really have to decide for yourself, like, all right, is it more important for me to get this sleep because I know I have 8 a.m. lift tomorrow, or do I want to go have fun? So I had to
8 a.m. lunch.
lift.
Pardon me.
But yeah, so I had to definitely be accountable for myself in those decisions and really make the priorities. Like, I had to make decisions for my priorities and stuff.
Tell me about it, dude, because I have a whole song. I said, distractions, I need focus. I got so many. Y'all remember that song? Y'all don't remember that song? It's like my first song. I still got my I'll post it one of these days. But anyway, so discipline, you're in this new place alone. So tell me about, like, once you started playing, like, when you noticed the pace, and like, what about the college game, D1? What about it was different from the top level high school game where you came from?
Oh, it's there's more complete players in college from high school. So it's like, I know in high school you can get away with like things that are kind of lazy sometimes because you'll know, for example, all right, this dude's really right hand dominant. I just have to force him to his left and he'll turn the ball over, he'll pass it, then I can rest a little on defense. Usually in college, it's like either they can do both, so they'll have more things in their bag and they can mix it up on you a little bit, or they're so good at getting to that one spot, you gotta really just defend them and make them take a really contested shot. Because I know, for example, one of my old teammates, like, he's such a good shooter. If he got the ball to like right here, like right to his form before he's going to release, he's going to make that shot. There was no stop. Yeah, to make him, I know, like, my whole thing, if I ever switched on to him, I would want to make him like kind of bring the ball up a different type of way so that he didn't comfortably get into his form. Because I know if he gets it right to where he wants when he's going to shoot, that's 3 points right already. There's nothing I can do about it. And I mean, and he started all 4 years because he could do that and because he was just a good ass player. like, but yeah, it's just more talented. People are better, stronger, older. Like, there's a difference between high school and college.
Right. So, all right, cool, man. So we're gonna be shifting gears. We're gonna talk to my man Bo over here. He had kind of like a little bit of a different experience from what I understand. It's more like it's one of these highly sophisticated military colleges. Yeah, you know, his experience was similar yet different. Like, if you could like tell people what your experience was like transitioning from high school going into college and just break down, some things that stuck out in your opinion and, what the transition was like.
All right. First of all, the school I went to is the Citadel, the Military College of South Carolina. So just starting off is a very different experience, unlike most college experiences. You're required to go to formations in the morning, you march to breakfast, you wear a uniform. There is a class system amongst the cadets.
A uniform? Bro, what you talking about a uniform? Break that down right quick.
So there was actually multiple uniforms. The standard uniform was like a gray shirt, a hat, a belt, pants, and black shoes. You got to shine your shoes, you shine your belt. You're required to salute military officers. Can't wear hats indoors, so as you were walking inside, you had to make sure you took your hat off. So there was a fourth class system. So when you come into school, you're automatically a fourth class cadet, meaning you're on the low end of the totem pole. You get yelled at, you get your head shaved. There were certain rules you couldn't abide by. Basically, you had less freedom. You had much less freedom than other students and other cadets.
Man, all you niggas.
And so then you throw that on top of a Division I athlete's, hectic schedule. It's very, very exhausting. So my transition from high school to college was different just in that aspect. I had more freedom as a high school senior than I did as a college freshman.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's one of the ways it was different. But so the school, it did get you very, very organized. You had basically all your minutes of your day were accounted for and allotted for. You didn't have much free time. If you did have, more than 15 minutes of free time, you were trying to find somewhere to take a nap. You were just that tired from either the military stuff, from school, or from basketball. So you wanted to close your eyes whenever you got the chance.
Okay. So what type of person in high school, and more like personality wise, would you recommend to pursue a school of that type? The less of a party school, more, direct, strict. Who would you recommend that type of school to? What type of person, and what can you offer them in order to help them get into that type of school if they, fit in that type of criteria that you think?
If that's something that you want to pursue, it takes a very disciplined person, a very mentally strong person, because there's gonna be times you want to break down because it's just not be what we want to do. Disciplined, very mentally strong, and you got to be able to take criticism, because you're gonna get yelled at, whether it's by cadets, military officers, as well as coaches. So you just got it coming from all angles. That's really that's the main things of discipline.
All right, so if someone were to pursue that route and go into the end, and at the end, I think earlier you discussed about receiving some type of credential other than like a diploma. So if they wanted to pursue a military life after that, if, basketball wouldn't work out or something, what are some of the options that they can be involved in?
All right, so at the Citadel is a military college, but it wasn't dominated by one branch of the military. Yeah, so you could contract to any branch of the military, and then they would pay for your school, and you just required to go into that branch following your graduation. The good thing is, though, you came out a military officer, so I think it was a second lieutenant, either first or second lieutenant when you actually came out. So all your basic training and stuff was taken care of. officer school was taken care of while you're in college and they're paying for it. So if you had that desire as well, that's a good thing. The thought of the Air Force crossed my mind for about 30 seconds in my 4-year college career at the Citadel, and then I talked myself out of it in 30 seconds. So I never had that passion to pursue that life. Respect everybody who does, but it just wasn't for me.
Right. Yeah, military is pretty big endeavor that people get involved in. So back to the basketball side of things. You all being military oriented, do you think that type of discipline that they require translated into y'all being more disciplined on the court and you all being able to win games and results, like showed that discipline? Or like what's the connection between the discipline that they all encourage you all to abide by and the actual success or not success that you all had experienced on the basketball court?
My first 2 years were more successful than my last two. The coach that I had that recruited me, who was also a Citadel alumni, so I think he knew what it took to actually win at the Citadel and what type of players to get. One of the things, because it's such a unique situation, you do spend a lot of time with your teammates. It just builds a very close bond with all of those guys because they know, the upperclassmen, the juniors and seniors, they were once freshmen, so they know what you're going through as a freshman, and so they really put their arm around your shoulders. So it builds a really close unity. You're spending a lot of time with these guys. That's because you have so much discipline. There's not very much trouble you get into. You don't hear anything about Citadel players getting in trouble, getting pulled over, driving drunk, getting caught with drugs, anything like that. So I think that's one of the things that also carried over. The winning, that was just tough. That was tough. We won 20 games my first year, I think 16 my second, and then the last two, I think we won like 12 apiece.
And how many, like on average for like a D1 college school, like games total?
Usually play about 30.
So like 20 on like 20 in tennis? Is that like a NCAA tourney bid or NIT or what?
No, depending on the conference, winning 20 games may not mean nothing. The school I was at was it was a one bid league.
So only like the top dog of that.
Not getting more than one bid.
Oh, okay. So no Power 5, that conference.
So you got to win the conference tournament to get that automatic bid into the tournament.
For like a non-Power 5 school.
Yeah. Like say if you win the regular season but lose the conference tournament, you can get that NIT bid though.
Is that how it works?
Yeah. Yeah. Regular season champs automatically get the NIT bid, so it's always good to win that too.
Okay. But like, did you think? What I was like really asking was like, does the discipline that they teach you does it translate to being disciplined on the basketball court itself? Like, you're not gonna do the wrong play, or you're gonna stay within a realm of what the coach expects. Like, do you think that had an effect on that?
I don't think. I don't think it had to do with the discipline taught by the school. I think our coach recruited very high character guys that knew how to play the game of basketball and weren't selfish or doing stupid things on the court to begin with. He was really high on basketball IQ, so it wasn't like he had to teach us how to play the game the right way. Obviously, we learned more under his tutelage because you just with more experience, comes that knowledge of how to play. But to begin with, we all had pretty solid bases of basketball IQ and basketball discipline. So I'm not thanking the Citadel school and military for my basketball knowledge.
Hell no. But you brought that to the table. Right. All right. Yeah, man. So, shit. Pretty much that's about it. Like, did you all want to add anything else, like, you thought about that you didn't touch upon the previous question?
Shoot. You'd have to remind me the previous questions for real.
So, yeah, basically, you have anything else to add, bro? All right, what's the message for those who had freshman, sophomore years, school, in high school, who want to make it to the D1 arena? Other than being very good, like, what can you give them? Like, in a sentence or two?
Really about controlling what you can control. Don't worry about a lot of outside influence, especially now in this day and age, the mixtape age, the social media age, all the rankings that are coming out. You don't want to, like, it doesn't matter to be ranked the best 13-year-old in the nation. Like,
Wait, time out, bro. The mixtape age. What's the mixtape age?
YouTube mixes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I got you. Go ahead.
Like, it doesn't, if you're the best 13-year-old in the nation, that don't mean nothing because, you know, you don't get a scholarship till you're a senior. You want to be one of the top seniors in the nation. Doesn't matter if you're the best 12-year-old. And even then, those rankings are flawed. Like, you'd rather be the best 26-year-old in the world than the best 15-year-old in the world. Because when the best 26-year-old in the world is getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars.
The best 23-year-old just won MVP. Like,
yeah, the best 15-year-old in the world, you ain't gonna, not much comes along with that title. Except maybe a couple mixtapes.
All right. Final word, Ellis. What these youngins, what they should do in a sentence or two.
kind of what Bo said. Just focus on the long race. You know the old saying, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Like, just kind of, like you said, control what you can control. If you put your work in every day, like, you stay disciplined to what you're doing, like, things will take care of itself. Life always has that way of taking care of itself. Like, you're not gonna, even if you don't get to the pinnacles that you want to reach and everything, you'll be a lot further than a lot of other people. Like, I know a bunch of people who were supposed to be the best thing since sliced bread in high school, but really not doing much now. Like, and then there's other people, like one of my teammates was conference player of the year, and he didn't even start playing basketball till sophomore year of high school. So it's like, nobody had him as that when he was 13, but he made himself that when he was 20, 21, and now he's playing overseas and everything, has a pretty luxurious career, so.
Well, all right. You heard it from the horses' mouths. Both horses. So, like, comment, subscribe, share this video, especially to your high school partners, sons, daughters, not daughters perhaps, but yeah, daughters too. Sons, nephews, little brothers. It's shared to them. Get them a heads up on, how to make it in this D1 basketball highly competitive world. This Mr. L. Holla back.
Cut.